Of course, you don't want these screws sticking through the plate, hitting the other plate, so you got to make sure that they don't pass through here. They can come up to it, but you don't want it going through. Now these were just a tad long, so I had to put them on the sander and sand them down a little bit. So this comes off, and this pivots just up and down. Now on my switch slash brake, remember I had a cutout in here, and I had a pin going through the part, but that had to move back and forth. This one doesn't move back and forth. It's pretty much stationary. You just got to go up and down just a little bit. So of course you have to, there's a pivot point in here, and I didn't have to get real extravagant with it. So what I did was I drilled it through here. Now, of course, I didn't have a whole lot of room to play with because I got this bolt back here. So what I ended up doing was I drilled it in the same location as this bolt. And what I did was I drilled like a 130 hole through there, and I put a 1/8, well, 127, 128 diameter hole through this aluminum piece, and I got a dowel pin in there, and the dowel pin is captured between this bolt and that bolt. So when I flip it up, the dowel pin comes out. And like I said, the dowel pin goes in there, and it's riding between those two bolts. So now this will come out. Of course, you want a fairly snug fit in there. So that comes out. That's the hole. It's just a little plate. And this is just a little something I did. I drilled a hole, I put on a belt sander, sanded that, and then this is just a little wheel. And what I did was there's no bearing or anything in there. The wheel is the same size as the outside of the thread on this bolt. I put that bolt in there, and I only put the thread in so deep so that the bolt's going to bottom out and it captures that wheel. Otherwise I would have had to put a set screw in here to get the right, you know, you don't want a lot of slop in there, but you have to be able to capture that wheel. So I just drilled and tapped it, I don't know, like 3/8 deep, and put a bolt in there and found out how much, you know, I bottomed it out, found out what I needed to take off of it to give me a little bit of play in there, and cut the end off, put it in there, and fairly simple. You know, I didn't want to, you know, you could put a bushing in there, and then you'd have to make the bushing thicker than the piece, and that way when the bolt comes down it locks on the bushing, and yet the piece will still spin and all that jazz, and I didn't want to have to go through all that. So then this is just just a 1/4 inch hole, 1/4 inch bolt. This just rides on this bushing. Nothing to it. I put a little piece of tape on here to act as a little, I don't know what you call it. You know, make it slide easier. You don't want it sliding on the metal. I put tape on this side because I ended up with a lot more slop in it than I should have. and the tape will protect it against this surface, well actually this surface, so that it doesn't make contact, because you don't want it to rub the numbers off. But like I said, I hope it's just a temporary thing, but I wanted to have something as a backup, so I know that when I'm rotating it, it's in the right spot. And eventually I'm going to work on something a little more easier. I won't say easier, but something that's not sticking out there, because there's right now you got the possibility of some chips or something getting into this wheel and throwing it off. If it hits a chip, it might throw it off a little bit, and you don't want that in the long term. I mean, it's okay for short term, but like I said, I'm going to work on something else, a little better, a little easier. And when we get to that, we'll get to it. All right. So I'm going to get this back going and get it back to work, put it back to work. Yeah, this is the wheel. I don't know if you can see it. I can take it off. I'm all done with it. This old timing disc goes from 0, 180, back to 0. Got 90, 270. But, that's why I was reading it, because it goes up to 90. Well, it goes to 90, and then it goes back down. But you have your 0, your 360, your 90, your 180, 270, and the rest of this, it's just for visual, so I could check, make sure that it worked. So now that I know that it works, I'm going to take this setup, put it back. Then I got to set this. Like I said, you move it back or forth, you're going to change the rotation of this, either faster or slower, so you got to get this just right. And then once I get that set, lock it down. I don't think I'm going to put pins in it, but I'll find some way of doing that, and so then I can have a visual on what this thing's doing. All right. Talk to you later. Okay, so I brought the box back home. Got it up there, the cables. Got the program up. And last time I changed that steps. And I don't think I should have done that. Here it is. Speed delay increment. I changed that from a 5 to a 1. Change value of motor speed steps. So I'm going to put that back at 5. So I'm also going to now if I go into micro steps, now see it says depending on your stepper driver, it may support microstepping. Set this number to the number of microsteps that is set on the driver board. For large ratios, you may want to use no microstepping and set this to 1. Now I'm using large ratios. I'm only using degrees. I'm not breaking it down any further than that. So I'm going to change that from 8 to 1. Now I guess that's the number of steps in between the magnets of the motor. Now I went ahead and changed it on my board. Changed this from 8 to 1. So I'm going to take out this old program and put this new one in. And that's all I'm going to do to it right now. So I'm going to go ahead and plug it in. And the lights are on. So what I do is I go up I gotta verify it, and it's compiling it. So then I'm going to go to upload. And the lights are blinking again. So that's about it. With this,